Hey everybody, ZAVGreviews here, back again with another review, and today I'm reviewing Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, for the Xbox 360 and the PS3. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, is actually kind of a weird case of a game based off a movie, based off a comic strip that's actually pretty good in all three different categories. Well, what is the game about? Well, it's about a guy named Scott Pilgrim who falls in love with a girl named Ramona Flowers. Everything is fine until he realizes he's going to have to defeat Ramona's 7 ex-boyfriends if he wants to go out with her. The levels are based around each one of Ramona's exes. The levels themselves look really nice, and if you've actually seen the movie or read the comics, the levels look very relatable and very distinct depending on the different locations you're actually supposed to be in when it comes to the Scott Pilgrim universe. You fight Todd Ingram at a stage because he's in a band, and you fight Lucas Lee on a movie set because he's a movie star, etc., etc. And it's really cool to see all of the stages come to life. It's a really good nod to the Scott Pilgrim universe, and a really good nod to the fan base who wanted to see some references. The game itself is a side-scrolling beat-em-up game like Streets of Rage or Double Dragon, and it's really fun. There are 4 different characters: Scott Pilgrim, Kim Pine, Steven Stills, and Ramona Flowers herself. Oddly enough, you can play as Ramona Flowers, even though you're supposed to be defeating her exes so Scott can go out with her, but I digress. Each level will take you about 8 to 10 minutes or so to beat, and the boss fights aren't that long. They'll only take about a minute, 2 minutes maximum, with the exception of the final boss, who has like a million different forms, but I'm not going to spoil it for those of you who haven't played the game. Besides the gameplay, the art style in this game looks very impressive and very cool as well. It's got sort of a comic strip sort of vibe to it, which is a really good nod to the comic strips themselves. It has a really familiar art style, and I think it fits the game perfectly. Also, I have to mention that the music is some of the best music I've heard in a video game for a while. It has one of the best soundtracks easily for any kind of Xbox 360 or PS3 download indie game ever. It's amazing. It's made by Gachi, I hope I said that right, and it's absolutely phenomenal. You can probably hear some of the music in the background right now, and I would play the game just for the soundtrack itself. It's really one of those games that has that good of music. What else about this game is great? Well, honestly, I like the leveling up system within the game too. This is one of those side-scrolling beat-em-ups that you level up in. Every time you level up, you end up learning a new move. So you can't just go through the game pummeling your way through everything firsthand. In fact, if you play in a harder difficulty because you do so little damage to each opponent, you're probably going to get beaten the first time through the level, even with 3 lives. What you want to do is you want to get through the level, gain some experience, have the ability to learn some new moves, and gain some stats. You have stats in this game such as power, speed, defense, and etc. And you up those stats to do more damage and take less damage and basically do things exactly how they sound. So what are the bad things about Scott Pilgrim vs. the World? Well, first of all, the game is pretty short. Considering that the levels take about 8 to 10 minutes to beat, with the exception of 1 or 2 that might take like 12 or 13, this game will probably only take you about 2.5 hours to beat on your first playthrough, and if you have up stats and everything, which isn't that hard to do in all honesty, and you're a pro player, you could probably beat the game in, I want to say, an hour and 20 minutes. It really doesn't take that long. But you do get an achievement for completing it with every character, and a different cutscene for completing it with every character as well. That's cool, but I wish the game was a bit longer. I also wish that maybe the twins were separated level to level. I know that they're seen mostly together in the movie and the comic, but I just think that would have made the game longer. I don't know. Anything that could have made this amazing game longer would have been nice. Also, something that you usually don't find bad about a game is, well, bad about this game. The downloadable content in this game is just very underwhelming. In the first downloadable content for Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, you got a new character, Knives Chow, who, if you've read the comics and seen the movie, you know as a Scott Pilgrim character, and you get a couple new game modes, such as Dodgeball and stuff like that. Honestly, the new game modes are only cool to play once, and Knives Chow is just a recoloring of the character Kim Pine. All of their moves are the same, which is really kind of lame. And for the next downloadable console, you'd think they would learn their lesson and make a new character with their very own moveset, but they don't. They bring the character Wallace Wells into the game, and his moveset is just a copying of Steven Stills. I'm really disappointed to see that they didn't take the time out of their day to make a different moveset for each of the new downloadable content characters. It's really disappointing. But you will want to download that content anyway, because if you download that content, you get to play online with other people. It's honestly something that should have been implemented in the game from the get-go, but at least it's there now, and I do recommend downloading that at the very least. And there you have Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. It's a very solid beat-em-up with some great characters and a great art style and amazing music, despite the fact that it is a bit short and the downloadable content is very underwhelming. It's a classic beat-em-up that I think any fan of the beat-em-up series should get right away. And if you're a fan of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, this game won't disappoint you with the multiple references it makes from the comic strip and the movie. This game gets an 8 out of 10, and it is a buy for the low price of 800 Microsoft points. Buy it now.